Well, hello. It's been a few weeks since we gave you an update. So before we get started on the regular slots, we'll just have an update of where we are at the moment. It's the 8th of April today, and I'm going to give you an update of what's been going on for the last couple of months while I've not been posting anything. I've had a rest, I've got a fair bit of work done, but you'll see the progress up to today. I hope everybody's well. I'm just on a walk in the hail and the snow and the pissing rain. The place is very nice. This is an English country garden, and for the next year or two this is where we'll be filming from. I hope you enjoy it. It has been storm after storm at the moment, so what we're trying to do is just have a little, it's the last week of February, the last 3 days. I think it's the 25th today, and let's have a little look and see what's in flower and what we can have a little look. Next time we'll probably have a look at the end of March. This is Rosa Glauca. This is down the side of the house, looking over my neighbours. It's breaking away nicely. The trough is doing okay, not much to see in there. There's a few buds on that little saxifrage. Where is he? Yeah, you can see he's just starting to bud up nicely. We'll have to see how they come on. This is just some bits and pieces waiting to be planted out when I have space. There's some more little alpines around there. The Daphne is still in flower. It's been in flower a month or so. I'm going to put a vine eye in here and just hold it back against the wall, but the scent is absolutely wonderful. It's sunny this morning. There's some young dwarf conifers along here. This is an echium. We'll have to wait and see how that does. It's been there all year. It'll flower this year. A great big long tall thing. Maples are just starting to bud up. You can see the buds are swelling. One of the problems if you grow maples in a tunnel or in a nursery is when the weather is sunny like this, it raises the temperature and they get far too advanced and the leaves break, and then you get a cold spell and it buggers the job up. Now I've been quite disparaging about snowdrops. You know, they are beautiful flowers, but you can have too much of a good thing. At the back here with the big wide leaf is you can see it's a big one. That's it. Compare it to a normal snowdrop. Let's see if I can get some proper light on this. It's not doing very well, is it? You can see there. It's better. Much bigger. This is I think it's Elwesii, much thicker leaf compared to the little one there. That's Elwesii. I think it's possibly a variety called Sam Arnott. My old partner Gordon gave it to me actually. I think it was in his mum's garden at Walton. So looking around for a bit of colour. Leucodium vernum. You can see there's some nice airums coming up there. Excuse the hose pipe. As I say, we're still working on a building site. Some daffodils here and there, bits and pieces. There's some little crocus. Nothing spectacular. More stinking snowdrops. I did notice the other day coming down here. That's actually quite a lot bigger than the others. It might be a different variety, I can't remember. There could be all sorts of varieties in here. We did have a double one. I think this might be it here, just poking around, but you really wouldn't notice unless you lifted his skirt up, see? The galanthophiles, that's not a perversion, it's people that like snowdrops. They call them galanthophiles, and they go around with a mirror, sort of like a horticultural form of upskirting, except, you know, it's not like pervy. It's just like people with hellebores and flowers like this, where the flower nods down, you can't see it, so you have to look at it from below. So they have a long stick with a mirror. Very nice. But again, because of the habit of the flower, you can't see it. This is just a leucanthemum, what we used to call chrysanthemum maxima or Shasta daisy. But this is a form called, bugger, Esther Reed. It's a lovely thing. And that's, I was going to plant that there. There's another Daphne here. This is Daphne tangutica. It's a bit like below the other one that we did last time. I can't ever pronounce it. Bulbula. Jacqueline Postel. Yeah. I do not know what this little rhododendron is. It's just one that was just left knocking about. I repotted it, so it's not in the best of health, but it's okay. It'll come round. It's been repotted, and if I feed it this summer, it should be fine. There are some azaleas here. The buds on those are just starting to break. The winter aconites are going over. One or two of the hellebores that, you see, there's plants all over at the moment. One or two of the hellebores are, again, just starting to come out. But they sometimes need picking up. I think that's a peony of somewhere, something of some sort I've got to plant there. There is a very nice little hellebore here. Look at this. This is a beautiful little thing. It's just got Lisa written on it, so it must be one that she's put to one side. Very, very pretty. It seems to be holding itself up nice. I do not know which variety that is. It's a sort of semi-double. It's very, very lovely. Very, very nice colour. So we hope that that bulks up. A lot of this stuff has just been banged in quickly. Many of these winter aconites that are put in here under the trees have come up blind. It could be that they suffered while they were left in pots last year, but give them a year or two and they'll spread around nicely. What they need to do is have lots of leaf just left there so that they can quite happily feed themselves from the sun and come back next year with a vengeance. There's another hellebore there waiting to go in, and there's stuff all over waiting to go in. But I've still got paths to make and things to do. And it's very, very tempting just to want to get on and plant. But until I have the garden defined and every edge is sort of done, I don't really know where I'm planting. It's just with occasional things, you need to get them in or move them up, because they're going to suffer in the pots. Some of the trilliums I planted, you can see at the back there, are just starting to come up. what else did we do? We put in a few leucodiums here. I have them everywhere, but the tulips just starting to grow. There's poke their little heads through. The troughs here are doing okay. You can see there's a nice little saxifrage there that's just going to sort itself out. And there's various little shrubs and pieces on this pier that we'll have to, that's been repotted, and we'll just have to deal with as and when. But really now it's all about getting the garden defined, the edges done and the paths put in. In another 3 or 4 weeks, of course, the shed arrives. I call it a shed, but, well, it is a shed. But we'll use it as a potting shed come workshop. I don't know how really to describe it. Posh shed. Yeah, it's a posh shed. Not that posh, but quite posh. So we're working on this little side path now. Not so many steps in that one. We'll get that one sorted out this week, hopefully. And some stuff put round, some of that edging put round the bottom here. The path down this side is now finished. It's really quite backbreaking. You have to dig out quite a depth of soil because I want to put plenty of gravel in. I don't want weed coming through. So we'll put a landscaper's mulch down, that's that fabric. And then we'll put maybe 3 inches of gravel on the top and 3 inches of pea gravel on that. And then nobody will have to redo them for many, many years. Those ones go down to the pig house. And then we come up here. They're all ready now. I'll order some gravel and ballast and stuff. Really pleased with these 2 stones. They make a nice step. Without the gravel in though, it's quite hard getting your leg over. Yeah, I wish I hadn't said that. This is a lovely hellebore. Look at that. Now, this is the parent plant of the seedlings I sent over to Eggleston. It's a beautiful little thing. Really, really nice colour. You can see some of the seedlings that have left. I think they were a bit worried in case the seedlings were something else, but there's still quite a few here. Now, why they might not be the absolute exact copies of that, because I have quite a few other bits and pieces here, they will be still really quite nice seedlings, I should think. Yeah, very, very pleased with that. It's a beautiful little hellebore. Look here, this has been reduced by a couple of feet off the top, and it's been lifted from the bottom. What they call raising the crown, although I call it skirt lifting. You can see by exposing the bottom, the heart of the tree, you get to see this lovely trunk, which you don't normally see in a sort of a lump of just green or green and gold. So it's exposed that. It's let more light into this upper garden, and personally I just find it a much better shape. When you do something like this, you cannot really do it with a hedge clipper. Some of these branches, they start low down, but if you just remove them, because they go upwards, you take out one and you create this great big hole. So you have to do it with a pair of secateurs. and do it bit by bit. It only really took me about probably an hour to do. There's also a nice rubbing box inside there. We can get at it. Just spread this apart, you can see in there. I'm hoping that we will get something nesting in there. Who can say? But yeah, I'm much happier with that. It's added a bit more shape to the top of the garden. And of course, once it grows in, we can then trim it up again. Again, I probably wouldn't use a hedge clipper on it. I would probably just use shears or secateurs or something. This is one of my favourite spots. Not you, you're a pain in the ass. Come here, don't get too near that edge. Come here, Pep. This is the River Greta. It's just a mile out of Birmingham. It's lovely. There's a bit more of the Greta. I do believe that there is a thing called Scotsman's Rock. And in the Jacobite Revolution, they found a Scotsman there sleeping on it, recovering from his wounds or some such thing. So it's always been called Scotsman's Rock. You have to remember, we're actually only about, as the crow flies, 50 or 60 miles from the border between England and Scotland here. Lots of these channels and gullies. It really is a lovely spot. Ulex. That's not some weird trash band. It's actually the name of gorse. Spiky bastard. Now this is quite interesting. You've heard me before talk about how the wall at Eggleston is like a big storage heater. Well, look at these little armarias, little sea thrifts. If you look at the furthest away from the wall first, these ones, you can see they've got a few flower buds on, not too many. Then as you get closer and closer, and then look at those at the back, absolutely laden. Aren't they amazing? They are going to look so good in another week.
Right, I'm just going to shut Dudley out so I can just talk you through what I'm going to be doing here. And now, what these are some little European spindles, some Euonymus europaeus. Yeah, it's a little name variety called Red Cascade. It's one of my favourite small trees, actually, the European spindles. Beautiful red autumn colour. And the fruits are like the little berries, almost in little parcels, little red parcels that open up to show off little orange fruit. It's a really unique thing, and it really is quite beautiful. But as these little plants are, as they so often are when you sort of get them, we tend to sometimes get them in as like 18-month, 2-year-old rooted cuttings. And obviously the very nature of the cutting is that often they're struck and they have the top piece taken out. So you quite often end up, like say with this one, you can see there, the top piece is gone. So they don't grow as a nice single stem tree, which you'd want them to. And we often, when we're first potting them or anything, we don't have time to do anything with them. Or we just sort of leave them to see what they develop into. But I tend to prefer them grown as a tree. They make a lovely little small tree. We always leave a few as a little sort of multi-stem shrub. But I'm going to talk you through here. Obviously you can see here with this one, it's got two very long sort of top pieces grow some little bits of side shoots, but although it's going to seem quite drastic, what I'm going to do with this one, if we ever want it to form a nice tree, like a few that we do have, and which I'm going to go, which I shall show you, a few that are a few years, maybe 2 or 3 years, well, probably 3 years older than these ones. But they're the exact same way, so what I'll do with this one, because this one is the stronger piece. This is the stronger shoot. It's more, as you can see, it comes from the base, it's the more central piece. So it's the bit that I want to be the leader. So as extreme as it looks, I'll try and get my camera angle right. I'm going to cut that side piece off. And then to stop these ones going, I might even, to be honest, I might remove these fully. They're strong enough, yeah. Strong enough little plants to take it. So I'll take them out fully. So although it looks like a stick right now, it won't look like that in a few months' time. It'll have branched out really quite nicely. Just doing that just encourages it. It'll carry on with this nice strong stem, and then we'll get a load more little side shoots coming off here. And then I've got this one. This one's a bit of an easier case, just because, as you can see, I'll move it over to one side. A little production line going. So this one, it's just got this daft little shape piece here, but it has actually got quite a nice strong top piece. So again, I'll just go remove that piece fully. I'll even take out that little silly little spur there, and again these two pieces at the bottom, they'll go too. And it just gives these little things potential to grow into nice trees, because although they don't look a lot now, I'm not interested in selling them now, if that makes sense. I'd much rather grow these into nice little trees for ourselves, because they're much nicer to look at. They're far better as a little established thing. So although it looks like people are just getting a twig now, from my point of view, they're not really, they'll be priced, but they're not really for sale yet, if that makes sense. I'd much rather grow these on to become trees to go in our tree section, rather than selling them all at young plants. And like I say, I will leave some as little more multi-stemmed ones. Not that one though, because it is an awful shape. There we go. Nice little single piece. And I mean, I'll show you, like there's one there that I might leave that as 2. I know people who are absolutely obsessed at them sort of nowadays with multi-stem trees. So I may leave that one as a 2. This one here, again, it's just got all these little pieces, so I'm going to take these off just to make it a nice single stem. And although you see these little knobbly bits here in this misshape, when it's mature, it grows out of that, so you won't even notice it. So I've got one here like this one. I'm tempted to leave that one as it is, just because there's a lot going on there. And it might form quite a nice shape, especially when it's just a bit of a conundrum, because obviously this one that's lower down on the stem is probably the stronger piece. So if I was wanting to, I'd snip that off there and snip that off there as well, just to make it. But it's nice to give people an option, you know. But then again, with these, there's no reason that another year or two down the line, probably I can't come back to them and re-prune them again, just to shape them up, because they really do form lovely trees, which I shall show you. Right, and here they are all done. So you can see I've left one at the back there, multi-stemmed, and this little one at the front here, I just couldn't bring myself to do what I really wanted to do, because you can see this one, it's sort of shooting from right below the surface, and what I really wanted to do was remove these 2 left-hand shoots completely and let it do its own thing. But I'm going to give it another year. I've removed a considerable amount of growth. I'm going to give it another year, see what it does, and it'll either be a case of I take out these 2 to leave that one, or I take out these 2 to leave that shoot. But we'll see. Like you see, I've got the other ones all nicely formed into trees. But enough about them. what I was going to show you actually was this little plant here. Now, some people might have seen that and thought, oh, it's a hookerella, or even a tiarella or hookerella. But it isn't. It's something completely different altogether. It's probably the same family. I can't pretend I care enough to look it up. But it's a little plant called Thelema grandiflora. And this is a variety called Forest Frost. And it really does have a long season of interest, because obviously it takes on this beautiful sort of foliage colour for autumn and winter, and the flowers in spring are beautiful, tall sort of spikes with sort of yellowish flowers. And I've just caught these and like out the corner of my eye, and I'm looking at them thinking, I almost prefer them to a blooming hookerella. I mean, hookeras don't tend to be that long-lived, and they're sometimes not even all that hardy. This thing, bloody bomb-proof. And look at it, it's lovely. And also splits very well, which is always good for us. But, then again, actually, I suppose Thelema, if you were to classify it, if hookeras were sort of the M&S or Waitrose, Thelema's, well, they're Aldi or Lidl, aren't they, really? Right, and as I'm bringing me barrow of the red cascades up, I thought I'd stop by the ones that, as I say, have grown into nice little trees. So these ones are probably 2 years on from those. As you can see, that one there's a lovely straight stem one that's going to form a nice little head on it. Obviously there's a couple that have been left slightly more multi-stem there, but see, there's another couple there. There's nice enough branch, going to form really smart little trees there. And I think we do have another variety of Europaeus called Koi Boy as well, and named that because the fruits resemble the colours of koi carp. They've got a white outer casing with the orange berry on the inside, as opposed to the red berry case that these little red cascades have. So they're fitting quite nicely on here amongst those specimen shrub beds.
Now we've had a morning of rain at Eggleston. I'm just over here for a morning, just to help out for a few hours. And you can see the stream, which is normally pretty still. It's quite angry, I would say. It's quite powerful. It used to power a mill in what the artist studio now, the gallery. Just a small mill, but it used to power one all the same. It is, we've got another 24 hours of rain due, so it's already up to, well, up to the top. The problem is, it goes under there, and then it goes under the house. That's where the milling used to take place. But if it goes over the top, it will flood. There's no two ways about it. It's never done it in the years I've been here, but we've never had some of the rain that we have now. I don't know if I can show you. It used to be, yeah, just down there behind those metal trolley uprights. You can see there, and that's where there used to be a spindle goes through there to the other side of the wall. And it's a fucking great wall, and the spindle would go through there, and there would be a water wheel the other side that would turn a shaft, and then the shaft would come through. It would be geared and it would come through to the cottage, and mill things. Now these millstones, it was a very small one because down in the woods the old millstones are still there. I must try and film them sometime. They're only about 4 foot across in diameter, so they're hardly the most massive. But it shows you how they used to take advantage of any little bit of energy or power they could. I might have told you before that it did actually flood at one stage, and we had a load of customers. It was a midsummer's day, and it washed the whole driveway. It must have been about 12 years ago. This whole driveway was washed away, and it gouged out a channel right across the drive. It pushed the tarmac just like it was paper to one side, and yeah, the channel that it made was 16 foot deep. Now that's a hell of a channel. It's nearly as deep as a house. It was horrendous. Right from up there. And that was a summer storm that lasted about 2 hours, and it was just the amount of water. It's not autumn, it's spring, and we've got a lot of tidying up to do because we've been working on structure. It's time to get the old incinerator going and start getting rid of some of these bits and pieces of twig and things and old grasses and stuff, yew prunings. Yeah, we'll just get it burnt. Normally I would chop it up in a shredder, but at the moment I don't want to be chopping up these because they don't shred up the thorns, and if I put it around for the dogs get them in their feet. But there's all this roots and things that are being dug up, so we might as well just get this little incinerator going, start clearing up the twigs and things. Yeah, it does give it an autumnal feel though. One of the things we have to understand with this garden is it's not really for this year. Well, not at all really. It's like a lot of gardening, it's about planning for the future, and I'm looking at having something interesting next year and having it looking attractive. But really 2024, that's a couple of years down the line, and we've maybe got that pond. That thing haunts me, it really does. Anyway, it won't be long before the workshop's here, the shed's here, and you know, that'll give us a good base to work from. But a lot of the structural work is getting done. We can get these paths down this side of the garden finished before the end of March. I'm not sure about getting the gravel in, but that would help. But you know, this stuff has got to grow in, and we've got to find out what's left that I haven't accidentally dug up, or well, sprayed off, dug up. We didn't exactly start with a blank canvas, but we did sort of clear the canvas quite a bit. It'll happen, it'll come together. But you know, a lot of people these days, they haven't got a lot of time, so they just get a designer and have an instant garden. It's not something I do because it's not my way of doing things. Half of the pleasure is actually the creation of it, the creativity of doing it and seeing what you can make for next to nothing. This is the second time I filmed this. Last time I filmed it all, did all of the words and stuff and all the chat, and I forgot to press record. Under that bench there, I've had some trilliums. Now, these trilliums, you might have heard me before, they take many years to get a good saleable plant, a decent plant, not a small seedling. So I sowed them 18, 19 months ago. I've just moved them out, and they're just in this second winter. As the second winter's coming to an end and we're approaching spring, they are just starting to germinate. And some pots are doing better than others. I have no idea why, but whatever, they're looking all right there. Now I'll probably just leave them, and I think I'll probably just let them grow on for another year. You'll see here, the steps of all that right side has been finished, and I've been working on the centre path. This is all going to be re-sown. I'm not a great lover of turf, so you can see I've put the edging in. I know it's not very straight. It's very hard with this recycled bottles to get it straight, but once the grass has grown up to the edge, it can be trimmed and you won't notice that. The grass will make it look straight. Either way, it still is a nice barrier between the garden and the lawn path. There, you can see here, it's going to go around the pier. Actually getting a slit trench in, because it's nearly 6 inches deep, is quite difficult, because there's a lot of root from these trees and things. But it's okay. It's going to make a nice little a nice round circle. Where we've got it at the step here, I'll just leave a little bit grown, sort of cultivated over, and just put a few cushion plants in there, you know, a couple of alpines going on that step. The other side of here, that'll come out. And this is the arbour now that I've done it. I've done it the same way as the pier, just with stones and ballast and then pea gravel on the top, and levelled it, of course. Yeah, and I'll put some nice stepping stones in there. Not that you need it, because you can step over it, but it just looks better. Yeah, you can see you have a much finer defined garden now, or centre path. I do like this edging, although it doesn't have the straightness of metal edging. It is actually really quite good, and using old bottles. So over there to the left, it'll have to be reseeded. Again, I'll put topsoil in, I'll use some of the topsoil of the garden here, and just reseed it. I'll show you how I do that later on. It's quite easy, really. I'm waiting for the shed to come next week, but yeah, it's okay. It's a bit like the old Banjo Pier down in Looe in Cornwall. We've just had something of a Mexican standoff. Oh, there's another one coming out. Some young rabbits. They're not sure which way to go. There it comes. He's coming towards the dogs. Well, I have to say, that was pathetic. 3 of you absolutely bedazzled by a little rabbit no more than 6 or 7 weeks old. What a set of Jessies. So it's the 24th of March, it's my birthday, and 66 today. That's enough of that. I was offered the choice today, do I want to go for a nice walk along the waterfalls, or do I want to go to a nice beach on the northeast coast of England? Given the choice, and you know, I'm always given the choice, I've got something far more exciting to do. The shed has arrived, more of that in a minute, and it's on the beams that you've seen. But what I've got to do today is to put these ground bolts in. These are fascinating things. Just in case the wind was to get right underneath it, it could potentially lift it off. But what we have are these metal ground bolts. They're really good fun, these. This is one here. You can see I've got these two in. They'll eventually later on be bolted through. But what you do is you get them. I'll have to show you this. It's so exciting. There we go. Let's see if I can find my hammer. I'm not sure I can film this on my own, but we'll have a go. So, you get your ground bolt. I'm going to hold it just there with between my legs, well, between my feet rather. Sounds a bit pervy. And you just tap away. See? Look at this. This is so exciting. So just keep going away, tap, tap, tap with a decent hammer. You can see it's going in now. If you want to get them out, you just put a bar through there and twist them out. But you can see, it just goes into the ground. It's starting to get stiffer now. Yeah, starting to get really tight. And just keep going down, down, and down. And then what happens is, oh dear. It is exciting. I mean, somebody like me, I find it exciting. I mean, not full hard on exciting, but just exciting. There, and you put a bracket on there. The bracket has some tolerance in it, so you can slide it along. You drill a hole through the base of the shed and bolt it to it. There we go. So I'm putting 6 of them around the shed. That's what I'm doing on my birthday. You don't get many birthday presents like that, birthday trips. So this is just about ready now for filling out. There's a nice little green roofed overhang, which I'm very happy with. Just stop drips going in to the building itself. The ground bolts are in. You can see here, nothing is going to lift that off. They've gone in. There's one down the side. Two at the back. And one on this side. And two at the front. That's really important. Not that it's going to be much danger of it lifting off here, because it's sort of cut into the slope. We're just once we get this sorted out, it'll be quite good, because we're going to do all of our filming of propagation and technical stuff in here. Let's have a look. And it gives us a nice little hide. We can get in here and Once the birds are used to this, we'll get the lathe over in that corner. We've got a nice view up the garden there. And the pond project, we'll have a lovely view over the pond. So when that's done in the summer, later in the summer, we'll be able to watch the birds there. There are nest boxes all over, so yeah, I'm really quite happy with this, happy with the situation a bit. And I can clear out the summer house and get it painted or stained, because it's not had any for 20 odd years. Just a new roof that we put on last year. Things are starting to shape up now. It's starting to look less like a builder's yard. We have a lot more gravel to put on the paths. I would like to show you a couple of plants. A lot of the pots are now waiting to be sorted out. This is Tillstone Hellfire. I'll take these labels off now. And it's a lovely single cherry. I got this from another nurseryman called Steenberg at Yorkshire Plants. And Steen has some really, over the years, all the time I've been up here, he's had some really interesting things. And this is a lovely little cherry. It really doesn't grow as big as some of the others. You're looking at about 4 meters, about 12 foot, but it's not going to get up around the 30-40 foot size. But its Hellfire name comes from the autumn colour of the leaves. It goes lovely golds and reds and scarlets. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, that's one of them. You can see here now that the larch we planted in that pot, the weeping larch, Dr. Stiff's, that's starting to green up. I was talking to Matthew the other day, and a lot of his plants that are only just breaking with us have gone over down in Dorset. And you see the odd pot lying around. That's because I know where I'm going to plant them. A couple of the steps have been done. Had some spare gravel, but I've got to order a load more and get these done now. Everything is doing really quite well. The aconites didn't flower much, but they were starved in their pots last year. When they're in a pot, they flower the first year, you pot them up, but there's not a lot of nutrition in that pot, so they tend not to produce much flower. Next year they will be fine, and then they will start seeding around. You can see that almost every one I planted has come up fine. What will happen in the summer, in the spring, these will die down, as will the leucojums. We want to leave them as long as possible, because every bit of sunlight, every bit of photosynthesis is going to increase the strength of the corm of the bulb underneath. Some of the delphiniums are starting to come up now. You can see here. The fucking great room, the great big room that we have, the red one, I've managed to keep half of it, and this side of the path. So that's just starting to poke its little head through. This is a little maple. You can see these little maples that Matthew sent me up. They're, don't know what that one is, Aridano Nishiki, something like that. Matthew's writing's usually pretty good. Arido Nishiki, yeah. I think that's a little variegate. And let's explain why I've put it in the shade. Synthris. And you can see the trilliums at the back have now poked their heads through. Primula Shiboldii. We'll see that later on, a snowflake or something like that. There's another hellebore. Trilliums. Now, the soil here isn't really that suitable for trilliums. We'll see how they do. I'm not altogether hopeful, because at the moment they've got the compost that they were in the pots. the thing will come when we see how they cope with the soil itself. These are some little wood anemones. They're not in flower. I believe this is Robinsoniana. I just put a little slide of them in there because I want them to naturalise on this bank. When these bloody old snowdrops die down, I think one day next year, I'm going to sneak out here and give them a little sniff of glyphosate, some of these snowdrops. But I won't tell Lisa because she likes them. Fucking things. I saw, now look at that little hellebore. Isn't that lovely? Come here, let's have a little look at you. Beautiful. Just needs to spread around a little bit. And there's a nice black one. I'm hoping when they're stronger they will maybe grow a bit taller and hang their heads so that you can see them more. And these have been grown in pots, so containers, so you know, they're not as strong as they could be. Once these pods are done, it's going to be a lot easier. The whole point of them was so that we can work on the garden from the side. As you get older, you can't straddle sort of beds and things, so you need a good level working surface. And you know, you could say, oh, this garden's a bit laid out too, you know, it lacks a bit of wildness. But I've got to think about the future, and if you want to keep gardening into old age, you've got to be able to get at things. Not sure what I'm going to do with this bed here. There's the yew, that's had a good trim up. I think, well, can't remember whether we filmed that or not. I don't think we did. It was this bloody great thing, but it needed a bit of formality about it. Oh, there's a dog turd. I'll get that one later. So what else have we got? This is a little plant that's going to be planted on here, on this corner. So you've got the kitchen window up there. This is a little dwarf Viburnum bodnatense. Her ladyship, mind me language now. There's Viburnum bodnatense. This is one called December dwarf. So it flowers in the winter, and it's a little dwarf, and it'll just be nice here, and it'll give a little splash of colour come the autumn, winter. Yeah, daffodils, can't remember what that one is. So, alpine troughs just coming out. They're not looking so bad. There's another one of Matthew's maples he sent me. There's oh, look at this, isn't this lovely? This is only their first year. You just have to imagine these on a hillside or above the snow line on the Alps or something like that. It's beautiful. I'm going to tell you about this plant on another video. It has a huge history with Eggleston Hall Gardens. Yeah, that's for another day. If you remember, a year or two back we budded some roses with Amanda. Showed her how to do it. Yeah, God, was, yeah, yes, yeah. Well, she was shown how to do it, but she's all right. It's gone to America. Let's have a look here, and you can see they're just starting to break. This was last year's growth after their budding, but this is all the new rows, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. And these were done last winter. They're just on an old rugosa stock, but the buds have taken away nicely, so I'm really pleased with those. Hollies. That's another little viburnum. I'm going to just have a sniff of that. Oh, beautiful. A little pittosporum there. That's nice. So there's a little bit to show you now. You can see that things are starting to move. I have a lot of more planting to do, because in the end, as I think I've explained earlier in this video, or it might be later, at the moment it's not about formality, it's about structure. And my thing with gardening is that you put in the structure and then you put in the plants, and you let the plants do the talking. They're the things that drape over the edges of paths, soften edges, soften corners, light up corners, little pockets of interest, like this rose. I've forgotten what it's called now, but it's a spiny bastard. Look at that. But those spines, they go like this nice red colour in the winter, autumn and winter. So it's a little pocket of interest. Everywhere in a garden should have a little bit of interest. Even this line of lupins that I'm putting down here, these are just glamrock seed from our hybrids. Here is a birch. Now, by rights, in a year or two, that should grow up and it'll have a lovely white stem, and it should be set out by this cotinus purple cloak at the back. This is a purple cotinus smoke bush. So you're showing off the white of the birch against the purple background. Little things like that that you gain with experience. But at the moment there's lots of little pockets. I need to see where these pockets develop, and those we will fill with plants. I've said before, I want to be able to come out in this garden in a year or two and listen to it. It's not just about sight, it's about sound.
Well, I'm on my road trip in the USA, which we've been planning for 3 years and haven't managed to do because of COVID and lots of other things. And we arrived here about a week ago. We landed in Denver and are driving down through Utah, Arizona, across to New Mexico, and then back up to Colorado. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm here at the moment at Moab in Utah, and we're just on the banks of the Colorado. We've got a little lodge here and it's absolutely stunning. I'm going to take some photos on my phone and send them to Malcolm, but it's so beautiful. It really is. And we're right by the Colorado River. Actually, Phil keeps calling it the Colorado River, and I have to keep correcting him and say it's the mighty Colorado, because whenever you see it written here, that's what it says, the mighty Colorado. But being in America, it's so beautiful. That the whole land is so beautiful. It's just a complete treat. It's like the one place where you drive for miles and you see nothing, and you're very aware that you're on the surface of a very beautiful planet. So it's a real privilege to be here. And the American people are so lovely, so hospitable, so nice. I think a lot of them are called Jerry, because whenever you're in a store or a mall or anywhere like that, there's always somebody calling for somebody called Jerry, which is odd. It must be a very popular name. Even this morning I was sitting out on the porch here, all you could hear was the river roaring by, and suddenly I heard somebody shouting, "Jerry, Jerry!" It's really weird. It's like nobody who's named Jerry is ever in the place that they ought to be. Anyway, oh, and the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was beavers. I can feel Malcolm smirking as I say that, but here on the banks here, and I can't believe beavers would try and dam the mighty Colorado, but every stick we pick up has like teeth marks in it, like really weird teeth marks. I'll send some photographs to show you, and it's like there's some beaver upstream somewhere that keeps taking his eye off the ball and dropping a stick, and it's floating down and landing up here. He's probably called Jerry, but I don't know a lot about animals though, so somebody probably knows more than I do. I've been so hoping to see a bear, really. In fact, I thought I saw one on the way down here, because I could see this large animal drinking from the edge of the river. Oh man, I was so excited. And I said, "Oh, it's a bear, it's a bear." He pointed out straight away that it was a cow. He said he knew it was a cow because of the 30 other cows that were in the field behind it. But just for a moment there, I was very excited. And because obviously this is a gardening video, so I have taken photos of plants and things, and there's loads of lovely wild flowers here, just tiny little things like alpine, well they can't be alpines, but little succulents or something. Malcolm will fill that bit in. So, and cacti and things, and it's still early in the season, it's only just April, but yeah, I'll let you have a look at some and you might recognise them. I'm right down at the banks of the river now, and I don't think you can hear very well, so I'm just going to do a little silent panning round. It's about 6 in the evening, but you can see. Right, Phil's found some of the beaver sticks, so he's just going to point out. See? Teeth marks. Teeth marks. And some of them are coming to a point at the ends. Please tell me I'm not imagining a beaver. Thank you, Phil. This is our walk from the lodge down to the river bank over this tiny, tiny little bridge. It's just a plank, so I'm going to try and video myself crossing it, which might be a big mistake, and I'm regretting it. Easy. Well, I'm back on the porch of the lodge where we're staying, and I'm going to read an excerpt from an American poet, Walt Whitman, from one of his famous poems, Song of the Open Road, because it sums up really how we feel now, having been able to kick loose from COVID and other ties, and actually have the holiday that we've planned for such a long time. Afoot and light-hearted, I take to the open road, healthy, free, the world before me, the long brown path before me, leading wherever I choose. Henceforth I ask not good fortune, I myself am good fortune. Henceforth I whimper no more, postpone no more, need nothing. Strong and content I travel the open road. From this hour, freedom. From this hour I ordain myself loosed of limits and imaginary lines, going where I list, my own master, total and absolute, listening to others and considering well what they say, pausing, searching, receiving, contemplating, gently, but with undeniable will, divesting myself of the holds that would hold me. I inhale great draughts of space. The east and the west are mine, and the north and the south are mine.
So to sum up the last few weeks, we've got quite a fair bit done. You can see the Katsura down there is coming into leaf. Let's just have a little final wander around to see where we are before the next video. This path here is done, not all the way, but the pea gravel's in. It needs washing off, a bit of rain and stuff. We'll clean these steps up. The trilliums and they've flowered okay. The hellebores, they're young plants, they need to settle in. You can see we've something is starting to emerge with this. When we started this, we started with nothing really, cleared it out. You've watched how that's been done. These steps down to the pig house they've got ballast in and they just need the pea gravel on the top. There's 3 or 4 sections here that still need the gravel, but this is the potting area where we've like put all the rubbish and bits and pieces, the excesses. The steps here are done. So that section there, I run out of substrates. I sounded posh now. I run out of gravel and ballast and things. Some very big footprints in here. I think next door's dog's been in. Yeah, this little section's done. The borders are starting to... soon we'll be able to see what's what, where there is stuff and where there isn't stuff, and where we've got gaps that we can plant up and things. The delphiniums are coming on. They're starting to really move up. They should fill these sections this year. They should be nice in 2 or 3 weeks' time. Let's go on round here. So we've got this done. Benches there. I made a little bit of a start on the pond. It's got to be cleaned out and all dismantled and a new liner put in, which is a big job because we've got to check for roots and put some new sand in and some new underlay and all the rest of it. And the shed. This shed is, well, it's finished. Tomorrow, Robert Child is coming. That's my electrician. He's a fantastic electrician. And he's coming to connect up. He's put all the sockets and things in. Let's just go in here. Stuff's waiting here. My tools are on the wall. There's the lathe bench for turning and bits and pieces. There's the grinder for sharpening the chisels that we use for turning wood. There's the electric socket. There's the supply box up there from the armoured cable that comes down from the house. I'm going to put another bench where we're going to do all our potting and dividing and propagating. That's going to go in that corner so we can see what we're doing as we go through how to do these different things. There's an old work unit there. It's actually oak. It's an old one that I've had years, but never found any use for it. Looking up the garden, ignore the incinerator, that like dustbin with a chimney on it. It's fucking horrible, but I'll get rid of that soon. Yeah, the tools are... Yeah, we're starting to get some shape. As I said to you, something is starting to emerge now. The next main job before the pond is to finish off those paths over there with the gravel and put a new path in this side of the garden up to the top. You can see here I've still got quite a lot of plants, a lot of hostas. Some of them I won't want, they're just doubles, repeats of things, but they can go to Eggleston. Some nice vincas here for a bit of ground cover. There's a nice purple one there, which I very much like. There's a peony there. It's a rare one. I don't know where I got it from. It will have been a mutation I've picked up somewhere and grown on. It's a little anemone blanders. That's the ground that I'm cleaning up with a bit of potato. We'll get that planted out. So it's a question of getting this final path done up this side. and some steps put in again this side, but it's one line down. It's a windy path down, so we need to work on that next month or so, the next few weeks, before we start on the pond properly. And that's about it, isn't it? The pier is looking fine. That's growing in nicely. There's some nice tulips there that we planted, if you remember. I don't, but you probably do if you watch these videos. There's some more there, they're a little bit later on. Yeah, starting to take shape, I think. Once it's all taken shape and we've done all the hard landscaping, we can then just concentrate on growing plants and making it nice. One of my other projects I'm going to do is to put some nice lighting in for the night times. You know, maybe a bit of spotlight to look up through these trees, and maybe with a bit of colour. You know, when it gets dark, you want to be able to go out in your garden on a summer's evening and just make it look nice and just relax. Lisa chose a couple of lights to put on here. There, you can see those. They'll run with yeah, that's about it. It's that behind the shed. You remember we planted that big hydrangea over in that corner. That's survived despite being covered with old logs and bits of wood and stuff. The log pile I like because it encourages all sorts of insects and life, and once we have the pond as well, it should be a little haven for wildlife in here. We need more cover. As I've said before, it's been a little bit on the what's the word, builder's yard look. It's looked naked. And that's where we have to build. Once we've got the structure of the landscaping, we can then make all sorts of cover and beautiful things that will look nice. It will be a typical English garden, a typical English cottage garden, although it doesn't look like it now. So there you are. I guess I'll see you next time. Won't be so long. Just coming through Rugby Woods. Look at that. Teeth marks. I think that's been done by Amanda's beaver. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of that, would you?